Greetings, all my friends and children. It is Dr. Jimmy at your service again. I know. Who? I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately, and I may, who knows when I'll ever get back to completing all those videos. Horror Nights history and the cocktail videos and various reviews of the events over the years, that sort of thing. But whether they ever get done or not, you can always depend on this one never-ending curse promise to you. If I'm still breathing and I'm above the ground, every year at this time, I will do my faithful duty, and at least this video will be out every single year, where I, as I have done since 2011, wow, that means this is the 13th year, isn't it? I think so. 2023, yeah. For the 13th year in a row, where I have stood up and revealed unto you the true facts, the real, honest-to-gosh truth about what to expect this year at the event known as Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando Resort, or whatever they're calling themselves nowadays. Yes, you see. And you may say to me, but Dr. Jimmy, we pretty much know what the event is already. It gets leaked so early nowadays. Hey, they're already selling a t-shirt for the event before you even do your video. Yes, you're right. I got one of myself. See you in the fog! Yes, and that means something, by the way. That little video clip they showed you has an actual clue in it. You don't know what it is, though. You think you know what it means, but you don't! You don't. Yes, because Universal has been quite insidious. Not a clue. about their marketing this year. More than ever before, they've been running a false flag campaign of misinformation and fake news to fool you into thinking you know what's coming, while they carefully hide a big secret, an amazing revelation that they've been keeping under wraps carefully, thinking, they'll never know about. But as a matter of fact, somehow, through chicanery and subterfuge, dare I say, the deadly art of espionage, somehow I have learned what they are plotting, and I will now faithfully reveal it to you today, as I have done since 2011, every year on this particular day of the year. I have revealed you, and have I ever misled you once? No. It's always exactly like I say it's going to be. Hurt myself again. Alrighty. By the way, you can't see her, but just right over there, Lenny the cat is sitting on the daybed watching me like I'm a lunatic. She might come over and say hi before the video is over. You never know. All right. So, yes, they've been very crafty. You think you know what some of the event is already. You think that they actually announced a haunted house last year while Halloween Horror Nights 31 was still going on. You think there's going to be a house based on the television series Chucky. But that is misinformation. They're trying to mislead you. Sometime later this year, there's going to be an announcement. Oh, for reasons we can't really explain, we weren't able to do the Chucky house after all. Just like previous years, they'd actually led us to believe a certain house was going to happen, and for some reason the deal fell through or something happened, and they couldn't do the house, and so it never happened. That's happened more than once, right? Yep. And no, they're not going to have the purge instead. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. No, but the Chucky house is never. They never actually planned on doing it. That was just a little tease, thinking people will expect that, they'll believe that, so that they could cover up the really big, amazing thing they're doing this year. And oh yes, they have gone all out this year. There's that fellow you probably have heard of, Legacy, and he always likes to put out clues every year that you can decipher and figure out if you have a PhD in electrical engineering or something, or some vast cryptozoology, or no, that's not right. Cryptozoology is the study of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. No, I mean cryptology, the study of, I think that's the right word, the study of codes and secret messages and figuring out all this. If you were able to decipher the Zodiac's handwriting, maybe you could figure out what Legacy is getting at with these different places. Well, you have to realize, I've known Jeff, that's his name, by the way. I've known Jeff since he was a character at the event back in the 2000s. And not only does he like trying to prove to everybody that he knows what's going on ahead of time, he also loves to troll everybody. I mean, he doesn't make these puzzles and clues so that you can figure it out and know what's happening. He makes them hoping you don't figure it out, because he wants to be smarter than you. That's the whole point of it. And Legacy's a friend, but, I haven't seen him in a long time, and he's not worried about any consequences with Universal because he hasn't actually attended the event since 2011. And that was at the team member preview night on 2011. He hasn't been back since. He's out serving our nation as in the armed forces, as a matter of fact. Nice guy, actually. And, thank you for your service. God bless our troops. But, he just can't help himself when it comes to trolling. He loves that. So they contacted him and said, hey, could you please pass this stuff on? And he would. He would, absolutely. If Universal told him to pass on this information, he absolutely would, because he'd get a kick out of it. So I'm sure that he's involved with that, because what he's putting out and what you're seeing in the speculation maps and other information that's coming out, all the leaks are what Universal wants you to think. So I'm sorry, you're not going to see Chucky. You're not going to see Megan at the event. You're not going to see whatever that guitar means. There's not going to be a Japanese house, now rumored to be Kimetsu no Yaiba. Which, by the way, doesn't mean Demon Slayer, literally. It means demon-destroying sword. This is Demon Slayer. Oni Koroshi literally means demon killer, demon slayer. In fact, this is the same kanji. Oni is the same kanji as Ki in Kimetsu no Yaiba. The same kanji can be read two different ways, but it means demon. In Chinese, it's guai, as in guai lo, which is a rude thing to say to white people. You foreign devils. And this is a little juice box containing sake. That's right, Demon Slayer sake. Not a clue, although I wish it was, because I'm a weeb, if you can't tell already. Hello, last year's important clues. Last year's video, remember? But yeah, here we are. Kimetsu no Yaiba. Actually, Oni Koroshi. This is my commercial for. You can probably find this at your local ABC. If you like sake, it's wonderful. It comes in a juice box, just like a kid's drink. But don't drink this, kids. No, no, no. This is a grown-up drink. Absolutely. And remember, if you know as much about sake as I hope you do, because it's a wonderful stuff, one of these is the same as 3 beers, alcohol-wise. Oishii desu ne. Umai. But here we go. Kanpai. Wonderful stuff. All right, enough of that. But no, that's not happening this year. I wish it was. I really would love to see anime-based houses. Not this year. Not this year. And there's not going to be any television-based houses at all, by the way. No? No. No, that's all just false flag. So let me just start. What are they actually doing, Dr. Jimmy? Yeah, exactly. So let's give my video for the fake houses for this year. As all of you always want to hear. Here we go. Yes, there will be, some of the information they're giving out is accurate. There will be 10 houses. 10. There will be 5 scare zones. There will be some shows. It'll be fun. It'll be the calendar days that they've given you are correct, of course, and you can start buying your tickets now, obviously. All of that is true. You will be seen in the fog. That is also true. But what you have thought you knew about the haunted houses in the immortal words of Fireside Theater, everything you know is wrong. Fireside Theater, if you got that reference, you're freaking old. Alrighty then. There will be 10 haunted houses, and here's something. No television IPs. No video game IPs. No rock and roll IPs. Really? No. And this is interesting. It's all movie IPs. No original houses either. All 10 houses are based on cinema. Wow. All of them are adapted from film properties. All 10 of them. Wow. That's kind of unprecedented, I think. Huh. And let's start in there. I will say this. Although I know where the scare zones are, I know all 5 scare zones and where they are located, I don't really know what the shows are going to be exactly, but I do know this. I do not know this. I don't know where these, I know what the 10 houses are. I just don't know where they're going to be located. I don't know if a particular house is going to be in a soundstage or a tent or some other place. We'll have to wait and see on that. Sorry. But, there will be 10 houses, and the first of them should be obvious, because it's a Universal picture, and it's coming out this year, and it's over-the-top, outrageous horror comedy, and that might even be a theme for this year in a way, over-the-top, outrageous horror and comedy, sometimes at the same time. Surreal, intense, insane! It's that kind of year this year, and that's leading up to the big revelation, which I haven't given yet, but when it hits you, it'll be like, are you saying they're going to, oh my, he's saying they're going to, oh my God, he's saying that they're going to, and I haven't finished those sentences because I don't want to give it away right yet, but oh my God. So the first house shouldn't be a surprise. Renfield, based on the upcoming Universal horror comedy action movie, which the Renfield, the beleaguered and belabored assistant, henchman of Dracula, who has been endued by his master, his dark master, with some supernatural abilities and a bit of immortality, although he's not actually a complete vampire himself, will find it necessary to oppose the Dark Lord. And what an exciting film. I expect that to be outrageous, and it just gives itself over to being an awesome haunted house. Of course, that should be a no-brainer. I am shocked I haven't seen Renfield on any of these speculation maps. I mean, I would think that would be a given, that would be something that they're definitely going to do this year. It's a Universal property, after all. Don't they want to promote it? It's a horror property this year. It's connected to classic monsters and all of that. Duh! So yeah, Renfield. We're going to get that. The first of the haunted houses. 9 more houses. So what's the second house? Well, this is a movie that came out 2 years ago. And so I know a lot of people have been thinking over the past few years, why don't they do Five Nights at Freddy's house or something like that? Well, they can't get the rights to Five Nights at Freddy's, but they got the rights to a film that came out a couple years ago, which is set in a similar scenario. You know what I mean? One of those, like, really popular in the 70s and 80s, and they've kind of declined over the years, but those kind of pizza joints for children, you know what I mean? Animatronic characters that sing, and lots of kids having birthday parties, lots of screaming children, and vomiting probably, and video arcades, and really sticky ball pits. I mean, why are they sticky? What bodily fluids are in that ball pit? Snot, pus, piss. Don't want to go in there. Pizza that's kind of, like cardboard with tomato sauce on it. That, you know what I'm talking about. Chuck E. Cheese's, or what was the other one? Showbiz Pizza was the other one. And then Showbiz Pizza, like a giant amoeba swooping down on a paramecium that envelops it with its lobes and goop, scoops it up into its body and absorbs it. That's what happened to Chuck E. Cheese. It was absorbed. Oh, little bits of lung all over the place. Yeah. Just snot. That's not right. Yeah, that's not right. Yeah. Anyway, I gotta move my glasses up so it doesn't pinch my nose right here. It makes the post-nasal drip or something. And then I get phlegm. Yes, I am part Flemish. Some of my ancestors, the Van Pelts, came from Peltsen, which is in Flanders. That's why they're called Van Pelt. That wasn't actually their name. Their name was actually Lenen. But somehow when they came to this part of the world, they said they were from Pelts, and they took that as, oh, your name is Van Pelts. Van Pelt. Okay, your name is Van Pelt. And people thought they were Dutch for the longest time, but they were Flemish. They're from Flanders. Oakley dokley. But enough about my stupid genealogy. Let's continue with the story and the pizza place and the children and the robots that are really kind of disturbing and creepy and give you nightmares anyway. And then like the video game Five Nights at Freddy, it did the obvious thing with that. But this is a movie that came out a couple of years ago. It's called Willy's Wonderland, set in just that sort of establishment that's been closed, kind of run down, because forces of darkness, Satan, demons from hell, are running the place, and they require sacrifice every few years for the townsfolk to continue to get, their success, whatever you sell your soul to the devil for. So every so often you have to send someone there so they could die horribly, being sacrificed to the animatronics, which are possessed. That's the idea of Willy's Wonderland, except they send a guy there who has a handyman who is just kind of quiet and laid back and is some sort of, superheroic type. One of those Mad Max / Ash from Evil Dead / basically as someone who can deal with those forces of darkness, fight back and defeat them. So that's going to be an exciting haunted house with all sorts of fucked up, I swore, all sorts of, messed up stuff going down. I'm trying not to swear as often as I can because, you know, I've after 30 years, I've started going back to church, and I never know my vicar might want to watch these videos someday. Well, he's not a vicar; he's a rector, because we're not in England. But yeah, but nevertheless, might want to watch. Might want to watch my video. Goes, you said a naughty word, and then I'll be, in trouble. Fortunately, we don't have penance in the Episcopal Church so much as, it's not like, we'd get forgiven all the time. So it'll be okay, but it'll still be a bit of tut-tut. What did he tut-tuts at me? Because, trying to be good. Anyway, trying to clean up my act a little bit. He says while he slurps down, hey, drinking is acceptable in the Episcopal Church, just so long as you don't get ridiculously drunk and do bad things. Drinking in and of itself is not a sin. All right, now, we aren't Baptists or anything. Third haunted house will be a Lovecraft house. Yeah, for a long time I've always hoped they would do a Lovecraft house, and they kind of touched on Lovecraftian-inspired themes the past couple of years, like the Dead Man's Wharf Scare Zone and the Dead Man's Dock Landing. What was it called? I forget. But it was not a wharf. It was the house that was based on the same idea, very much based on inspired by The Shadow over Innsmouth, obviously. It's beginning to look a lot like Fishmen, because it was set in the wintertime. Yes. But now, finally, they're going to do a Lovecraft house for real. Because the next haunted house is based on a movie that was directly inspired by Lovecraft. It came out a couple years ago, 2019, I believe. The Color Out of Space. And if you're familiar with the story, it's set on a farm where a meteorite starts causing horrifying mutations in the livestock and the crops. Weird flowers start blooming all over. Things start getting mutated. I think this particular version, they have alpacas. Things start going wrong in a horrible ways, and the family itself starts to sink into madness and depravity as the influence of radiation, demons, whatever it is that comes off that thing from the depths of the cosmos is doing to the bodies and minds of those who are here at the farm. And it's quite twisted and wonderful. It should be a terrific haunted house. All right, fourth haunted house. This one is even wilder. This came out in 2018, a film called Mandy. It's a little difficult to explain. It's a revenge movie. This woman was killed, and I forget if he's her father or her boyfriend or her husband or whatever it is. It's revenge for the loss of this woman, and the people he's after are a twisted, sick cult that also have weird, like Mad Max / road, biker spikes, almost superhuman demon biker characters. There's chainsaw duels. There's a tiger. There is complete surreal hallucinations going on because of a lot of drugs involved. There is, or maybe it's actually happening. There's all kinds of weird ass stuff in this movie. Or as one of the lead characters says, crazy evil, which is what he is fighting. And yeah, it is an insane haunted house. It should be quite amazing. And I know in the previous video, many years ago, I suggested an actual live tiger might appear in the house. And, that was facetious. But I don't know if an actual live tiger will appear in the house. But I do know that some people involved in creative have been contacting various members of the legal department on safety issues involving the presence of a large feline, and I believe there's been some negotiations made with a certain Carol Ballard of Tampa. So Interpret that as you will. Just be careful with the sardine oil. That's all I gotta say. So, Mandy. Some of the more astute people in the viewing audience may have detected a trend. Hold on, it gets worse. So, the fifth haunted house is Season of the Witch. You're going, oh, at last, Halloween 3. At last, that was a Clue Your T-shirt. Halloween 3, Silver Shamrock. Because that's a Universal picture, and we've been wanting that ever since they did all the other Halloween houses. Well, they finally do Halloween 3. No, not that Season of the Witch. No, I'm talking about the 2011 movie, Season of the Witch, which is set in the Middle Ages with witches and plague doctors and witch finders and all kinds of wild and wacky stuff of that sort, like they've done in some other houses over the years. It should be quite wild. Plus, they already have a bunch of plague doctor costumes from, back in 2010. Not to mention all the witch stuff they've done over the years, that it can save a little bit of money and still keep it like the movie. It should be quite a good one. Now, have you figured it out yet? The sixth haunted house, though, is based on a much older movie. Now, all of these, Season of the Witch was in 2011. Most of the films so far have been the past few years. It might be thinking, why are they making so many movies well, this one might boggle your mind because it's not even strictly a horror movie. And it was made in 1990. It's more of a sort of romance, kind of dark romance, maybe a chase movie, definitely a thriller. What is it? Well, here's, the director will give this away. It was directed by David Lynch. Oh, that might work for a haunted house, even if it isn't strictly speaking horror. Yeah, Wild at Heart. And there's some creepy stuff in that film, enough to make some really disturbing scenes in a haunted house. F. Frankie. And also, maybe some surreal moments that'll just trip people out involving, of all things, Glinda the Good from The Wizard of Oz. Yeah. And intense over-the-top performances by the scare actors. In fact, that's going to be a trend throughout this entire event this year. And there's a reason for that, which we're getting to. But Wild at Heart also will feature fire effects like we haven't seen ever. I mean, I know they tried that back in 2010 with The Orphanage, and it was like a little bit of a, disappointment, anticlimactical. This time they're really going to try to make it so you can feel the heat and see bursts of flame, even though they're going to make sure it's nowhere near you and it's not going to set anything in the room on fire. They've got all kinds of fire inspectors and safety people involved to make sure they can create the illusion of intense heat and flame without anyone actually getting burned, right? Good. So that'll be, it'll be cutting edge in a lot of ways. 4 remaining haunted houses. The 7th haunted house, again, is one I'm not quite sure how they're going to pull it off. Again, this is based on a horror comedy from the 80s, but more comedy than horror. I mean, we've had horror comedies from the 80s, like Ghostbusters, but this is not as well known. This is a 1988 film called Vampire's Kiss, and it was set in New York City. Now, I have to wonder if they're going to include any kind of scenes that might show New York City skyline, and if they do, are they going to be bold enough to include what was in the New York City skyline in 1988 that's not there now? Or are they going to say, oh, that might upset people to see those 2 very iconic buildings that just aren't there anymore? Maybe we won't show those because that might, upset some people with bad memories of what happened over 20 years ago. So I don't know how they're going to deal with that part of it, but I will say this. I'm more concerned of how they're going to pull this off, because that was much more of a comedy movie. It's basically about this young man who, in a sort of parallel or counterpart to the movie Renfield, which will also be a house this year, as I noted, this one features a young man who is dating a mysterious woman and begins to believe that she is a vampire and has turned him. And he starts out doing Renfieldish things like eating cockroaches. and then starts going even more, I have to say it, batshit, and really begins to think he is a vampire. So that was I suppose there's ways to make it into a haunted house just from the sheer lunacy of the main character. Again, that leads to something which I have not yet covered, but maybe some of you are beginning to figure it out. All right. Three more houses. The next one, this is a more recent film, 2021. Sion Sono, which is a Japanese auteur, directed an insane post-apocalyptic science fiction thriller called Prisoner of the Ghostland, which is basically cowboys and samurais and action, violence, surreal, over-the-top action, kind of like what would happen if Mad Max had been made by some anime director instead of by some Australian dude. It's just wild and crazy crap, and it's mainly about this guy who's being forced to go out to rescue this girl who's somebody's niece, and if he doesn't do it by the allotted time, the explosives that have been planted on his body will explode, including two that are placed right down there. Ah, that's unpleasant. Yeah, and this is going to allow them to try a new angle on a thing they used to do at Horror Nights many years ago. A lot of you don't remember this. You might have heard legends about it, but way back in 2005, they had the last time they ever used the Islands of Adventure for Horror Nights. There was a house called Terror Mines, I believe, set in the attraction of Poseidon's Fury. And what they did is every fourth or fifth person in the queue going through the haunted house was given a helmet that had a flashlight on it. And so at different times, from RFD type of whatever it's called, those sensors, they've improved that so much since then. They've worked on using those kind of sensors during the whole Horror on Earth, Legendary Truth stuff they had back in the early 2010s. But back in the mid-2000s, they had this, supposedly the light would turn on at certain times and turn off at certain times so that things would be revealed in a very dark house. And that was very effective to some degree, but never quite dark enough in 2005. They tried it again in 2006 with People Under the Stairs house they did it in Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16. Unfortunately, the one time I did that house, there was a problem. The lights are on inside the house, and it didn't work at all. But if it was dark in there, it would have been much more effective. So I don't know how effective it was when the lights were working properly. At any rate, now they have much better technology, and they can have the thing react when they want it to, where they want it to. But it's not a helmet. No, they're going to give, and it's a little bit sexist to me. I wonder if they're going to be able to get away with it. But only boys and men will be given the thing to wear. It's not going to be a hat. It's going to be the thing that straps on down here with the two big glowing green, things that will be right there, so that it will explode if they don't get through the house in the proper time. Well, it's not going to actually explode. But what will actually happen when it goes off? That's the question. because there are some people who want it to give a mild electric shock. Some people, however, say, no, we can't do that. I know there is precedent for that in some haunts, but we can't get away with that, even if they sign a waiver. So we'll just have it make a very loud, alarming, buzzing noise and vibration. Either way, it's a big jump scare if you forgot you're wearing it. Goddamn! It's my dick got blown off. No, so how it works exactly? There's two different camps at Universal, and they're fighting it out right now. Will it give a mild electric shock, or will it just goose them with a loud buzzy noise and vibration? We'll see who wins, and we'll find out when the actual thing happens, if legal allows them to do it. It should be exciting. Two more haunted houses. And this one also has some legal upset for some reason, and that's a 2017 film called Mom and Dad. And it's being adapted into a haunted house. Essentially in that movie, and I don't remember if it was a virus or radiation or, space probe or whatever it was. Something, however, has caused an entire population of parents to be filled with a uncontrollable compulsion to murder their children. And so the movie is about a particular teenage girl and her little brother who their mom and dad suddenly want them dead, and it becomes sort of like a rather dark version of Home Alone, of setting booby traps, to injure your own parents so they don't frickin' kill you. It's pretty wild and exciting, and also has some scenes not just in the suburban house, but like at a school, where parents are trying to go after their children in school and on the playgrounds, on a football field, whatever. And I can immediately think, gee, that's going to be really problematic for so many reasons. How are they going to do this? And some people at Universal are currently thinking maybe this one will require a special cadre of counselors at the end of the house to help get people who might have been triggered by the haunted house to calm down and to deal with it. I've heard the rumor they're trying to hire some mental health counselors, marriage family therapists, whatever, to be there at the end of the house to help get some people to come down, especially any parents who, after having gone through the house, have decided that they do have to kill their children, and to at least calm them down so they won't do it until after they've left the park. At any rate, yeah. And the 10th haunted house is a little different than the other haunted houses because it's not based on a full-length feature movie. This one is rather unique. It's based on a trailer. What? Well, if you're old enough to remember, back in 2007, which, gosh, was 16 years ago. Gosh, how does the time go by? If you saw a movie in the theater called Grindhouse, it was, oh, there she is. I knew she'd show up eventually. Lenny, there's Tail, there's the cat. Yes, you could hear her. Yes, Grindhouse was actually a double feature. Two movies for the price of one. And you would go into the cinema and you'd watch. It was to recreate the old Grindhouse movies like they used to have back in the day, back in like the 1970s, before video came along. And so they made low-budget, cheap movies, exploitation movies that mainly were shown in either drive-in movie theaters. There used to be so many of those back in the day, or in what they call grindhouse theaters, which are usually disreputable, creepy little theaters that were like 1 inch removed from being porn theaters. and were just as scuzzy and kind of scary. There was one in Honolulu when I was a boy that I would sometimes go and see some very entertaining movies at. Sometimes a movie I really wanted to see wouldn't play anywhere else, and it was always really dark in there, even when the lights were on. And there was like this one guy who like lived there, because no matter what time of day or what movie you were seeing, the same little man was like sitting, and he had all kinds of bags and bags and shopping bags of stuff with him. And I figured out pretty soon this guy lives in there. Somehow they've allowed him to buy a ticket every day and stay in the theater until it closes, and then he goes out and sleeps on the street somewhere. But he spends his day in the air-conditioned movie theater instead of being out, you know. The climate in Hawaii is such that you can be homeless in a way that you will never freeze to death. But this guy wanted to be in the movie theater every day, and I guess he managed to get enough change every day that he got into a movie theater, and he was able to sit through all the shows. They wouldn't kick him out. No one bothered to kick him out. You know, he might have had some mental illness issues, I don't know, but he was always there. And the floor was always sticky, and you weren't sure why. Maybe it was just spilled drinks, maybe it's bodily fluids, I don't know. And I swear to God, this happened to me. I had a thing of popcorn, I was eating it, and for some reason I put it down on the floor to do something else. And then, before I could pick it up and reach it, the popcorn bucket left the room. It just ran off. Something took it and ran. I don't know if it was a rat or something out of Lovecraft. Whatever it was too dark to see. Something grabbed it and ran off with the whole thing of popcorn. It was like, okay. Kind of upsetting in all kinds of ways. If only Lenny had been there to catch it, whatever it was. Yeah, yeah, sure right, Lenny. You're not going to go near that. Some rats are bigger than cats. Creepy little place. But yeah, grindhouses back in the day were something else, and you could very often see 2 or 3 movies, and they would be wild, trippy things that sometimes there'd be breaks in the film and they spliced it back together with scotch tape or something, or there'd be a whole reel missing. And one of the things that made it even more exciting were the weird previews for coming attractions. This is where I saw my first Red Band trailers, back when you almost never saw Red Band trailers. It's like, oh my goodness, it's an R-rated trailer? And it was just insane. And films that wouldn't play anywhere else. And so you get trailers for films that wouldn't play anywhere else. You know, weird stuff that in later decades was released direct to VHS or direct to DVD, and nowadays is on some of the more disreputable streaming services. Maybe you can find it at Tubi or so. I don't know. It's not going to be on your regular streaming service. It's like, gee, even the weirder crap on Shudder isn't as bad as some of this stuff. So that's what we're talking about. And so Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, when they made the movie Grindhouse, they made 2 separate feature films. One was called Death Proof, and the other was Planet Terror or something like that. And they tried to recreate the Grindhouse experience, not just having a double feature, but having trailers for movies in between. And the trailers were for movies that were never intended to exist. And they had other directors come and make the trailers for the movie. Some of them have been made. Hobo with a Shotgun and Machete have both been made into actual movies. That's amazing. But most of them didn't. And, I would love to see, for example, Edgar Wright's Don't, which was one of the trailers. But the one that they're making into a haunted house is one of these trailers from Grindhouse. It's kind of obscure, but the title alone tells you all you need to know, pretty much, of what you're going to expect in the house. Because it's Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS. So you're going to have hot babes. You're going to have Nazis. You're going to have werewolves. You're going to have hot babes who are Nazi werewolves. Yeah, what more can you expect? Well, you can expect, as the trailer told you, Nicolas Cage as the insidious Dr. Fu Manchu. What would Fu Manchu be doing in a movie about Nazi werewolf women? I have no idea. They took him. They even edited him. They even removed him from Shang-Chi, because Fu Manchu was originally Shang-Chi's father, but they decided, that character is way too problematic, so let's make him the Mandarin be his father instead. We'll change it up. So Fu Manchu is a character that Sax Rohmer, who was very racist, created as very much a personification of what was then called the Yellow Peril. I don't really want to go into all of the colonialistic, white supremacist crap that inspired such a supervillain, the evil, insidious, maniacal Chinese super genius who wants to destroy white people. Except there are probably people who think that there's such things existing today. That's who's behind COVID. Yeah, I'm sure there are people with such conspiracy theories to this day that there are, insidious super genius among the heathen Chinese who are out to destroy us. So it is a problematic character, but it's a joke for Nicolas Cage to be in the movie playing Fu Manchu, obviously. But going to be in the house, and when I say that, I mean it. Going to be in the house. Because that's what I've been hiding from you yet. The big secret Universal's been hiding from you. Yes, 10 haunted houses and 5 scare zones. And you may have noticed, those of you who know a little bit about, seen some of these movies, you've probably seen 1 or 2. But those of you who've seen a couple of movies have noticed now something that all 10 of this has in common. Every single one of these movies, even the silly trailer, features Nicolas Cage in a prominent role, if not the actual star. Because that is what the theme of the event is. That's right. It's going to be called Halloween Horror Nights 32, Horror Uncaged. Yes. Yes. Feel the rage of Nicolas Cage at Horror Nights 32. Absolutely. And all 5 scare zones also are based on Nicolas Cage films. I do know where they're going. In Central Park. The Wicker Man. Yes, not the good one from the 70s, but the one from, 2006 Wicker Man. Why have they chosen Central Park for this? Well, obviously with trees and everything, but there's more. We know that it's all about, this version of the Wicker Man had a lot to do with bees. Well, swarms of bees building hives in the props of the scare zone in this area has not officially happened, but it's happened. So why not take advantage of it? And we'll have, not the bees! Yes, the bees. And then in the Plaza of the Star, Illumination Avenue, I guess it'll be by then, we will have Drive Angry in that area, and we will have in Hollywood Boulevard, Con Air. Yes, they're going to have the whole fuselage of the plane there on the ground, and you can go inside of it and everything, utilizing the wonder of Hollywood Boulevard. It's supposed to be Vegas in the movie, I think, but oh well. Con Air, it's going to be terrific. And then, with the serial killers and all the characters. And then in the Fisherman's Wharf area, all the little stages, set pieces for the characters featured in the movie Kick-Ass. Maybe even Mr. Bitey, right, Lenny? Yes, I'm sorry. I love the cat. Yes, and I've been drinking this sake the whole time. Yes, but what's the other scare zone? Well, it's amazing because I'm surprised they pulled this off with their competition controlling certain characters, but you see, Disney is only concerned with what they're doing in the MCU, and Universal found a loophole because of their contract with Marvel going back to Islands of Adventure and Marvel Superhero Island. They could adapt a Marvel movie provided it's pre-Iron Man, pre-MCU. Hey! 2007 is just before they had Iron Man, and so they were able to have Ghost Rider in New York Street. So in New York, you're going to have Johnny Blaze on his motorcycle zipping up and down New York Street like some kind of demon out of hell. It'll be awesome. So yes, we have Nicolas Cage themed scare zones and haunted houses, and I still haven't really revealed to you what Universal is really hiding, because sometimes when Johnny Blaze comes by on his motorcycle in New York Street, it's actually going to be Nicolas Cage himself riding the bike. Yes, that's right. Nicolas Cage will be making personal appearances in character as the characters from all 10 haunted houses and all 5 scare zones throughout the entire event. In the actual houses, in the actual scare zones, Nicolas Cage will become a scare actor during Halloween Horror Nights 32, appearing in the actual houses and in the actual scare zones. You don't know which one he's going to be in each night, but when he does, he'll be giving it every bit of over-the-top, overacting insanity that he's associated with, and will make the house or the zone so much better every time, and you never know where you're going to find him. So it's going to be intense and insane and fun, because Nicolas Cage is going to be the first ever celebrity icon of Halloween Horror Nights. We've had, fictional characters that belong to other people like the Crypt Keeper, and we had all these original icons, but now we're going to have an actual person, an actual celebrity, jump in and become a celebrity icon for the entire event. That's amazing. That's insane. How can this be? Well, I'll tell you. 9 years ago, in 2014, we had a scare zone at Universal Orlando Resort called Face Off, located in Hollywood Boulevard, based on the reality TV competition show about makeup artists, if you recall. And it was a really neat little scare zone. It was quite fun, a lot of photo op type stuff. Nicolas Cage heard that they're doing a face-off scare zone. He goes, "Oh my God, you mean the movie with John Travolta? Can I get involved somehow?" And then he found out, what? It's not based on the movie I was in? Oh, how disappointing. I'd like to do Horror Nights sometime. And this got out to people like Murdy and to people like Aiello, and they started negotiating. By the way, speaking of John Murdy, the Werewolf Women of the SS is going to be a Murdy type deal, where they start creating a backstory way above and beyond what the actual IP is, because the IP is so little. It's like when Murdy put a whole section of his Blumhouse a few years ago in Hollywood that was based on the intro, Blumhouse logo with the little girl and the chair and the mirror and all of that, and make a whole scene, creating a whole story behind that. It's similar to that, taking a little bit of something and then and just writing something that's, not so much based on a screenplay, but on something he wrote himself because there wasn't anything else to it. So that's kind of what they're doing with the Werewolf Woman house, creating the story that Rob Zombie never wrote, uh, which is amazing. But yeah, Cage was very excited and thought he was going to be involved in Horror Nights when he heard about the Face Off Zone, but then was disappointed when he found out it wasn't based on the property he'd been in. So, for nearly a decade, for nearly a decade, he'd been working. He'd been negotiating with different people at Universal, hoping to get involved, and there was always a problem why they couldn't do it this year. He was busy, he was filming, but finally everything fit together this year, and he's really excited and intrigued. And I also think maybe he needs the work. Well, he does a lot of crap to pay the bills, so this would be a lot more fun. Make him feel like a real actor because he's doing live theater. So, yeah, it's been, almost a decade in the works. So that's how it all happened, and I can't wait to see it because it's a landmark, whole new direction. And maybe if it's really successful, this will be something that will continue in the future. And your favorite horror actors might be showing up for an event themed to them in the future. You never know. You never know. One more thing. I don't know exactly what the shows are, but I know something that's going to be in one of the shows because it's going to be in all the scare zones and all the houses, too, at different points throughout the event. It has nothing to do with Nick Cage, but they couldn't help themselves with this surprise hit that came out earlier this year from Universal, making cameo appearances throughout the evening in different scare zones, haunted houses, and even shows. At some point, you will encounter at the event, and you never know when, Cocaine Bear! That's right, you might be going through a scare zone in Central Park, and suddenly Cocaine Bear leaps out of the bushes at you. Or maybe he'll jump out from behind one of the props in one of the other scare zones, or in one of the haunted houses, suddenly Booho opens up and there's Bear, Bear, Bear! You weren't expecting that, but not just there. No, you might be sitting down for a pint at Finnegan's and suddenly Cocaine Bear leaps up from behind the bar. You might be going into the tribute store to buy a t-shirt and suddenly Cocaine Bear comes out from between the racks. Ha! You'll never know when he's going to attack. So, actually, I saw the movie. Cocaine Bear is a girl. Stupid, Jimmy. Stop misgendering the bear! Yeah, it's understandable. Most coke-crazed bears I've encountered in my life have been male, and they usually say woof, guys with portly gay men with beards. As a portly gay man with a beard, you kind of know where I'm going. All right. So, yeah. So, I'm sorry to misgender Cocaine Bear, who was not a gay man, but was rather a female bear. What they used to call a she-bear back in the sexist days. Now they don't say she-bear anymore because that's, a little bit misogynist. If you can be misogynist when you talk about wildlife, I don't know. Is it okay to say tigress and lioness and I don't know. Or is that an acceptable term or not? I don't know. She-bears. Yes. So, Cocaine Bear making cameo appearances. And that's my video for this year. All Secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 32 reveal. And it's completely true. Oh, if it isn't true, then may the bear get me. By which I mean the gay male bear. Yeah. Kanpai.